freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same. And if you and I don't do this, then you and I may well spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it once was like in America when men were free.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode number 449 of Gun Freedom Radio, where we engage, we educate, and we inform. We are brought to you by azfirearmsauctions.com, where you set the price on guns, ammo, and accessories. I am one of your hosts, Cheryl Todd.
And I'm the other guy, Dan Todd. Our theme today is small city mayors make a huge impact. And they do. And our guest is Mike Pineda. Mike is a 2024 candidate for Mayor of Avondale, Arizona. Mike currently serves as vice mayor and seeks to continue using his personal and professional experience to serve this city just west of Phoenix with huge impact.
Welcome to the show, Mike.
Good morning, Cheryl. Good morning, Dan. How are you both doing?
So good, and always better when we get to spend time with you. We have so much in common, being in this amazing small city. I always want to call Avondale a small town, but I know there is a distinction between city and town. We're both small business people. We're just in this wonderful area of the nation. And to get a chance to sit down and kind of unpack some of that and talk with you while you're actually campaigning to be our next mayor, that's exciting for us.
Well, it's exciting for me, and you are right. Sometimes you do want to say, I'm from the town of Avondale, just because it does have that feel to it, but yet we're at about 95,000 people now, so we're growing, we're getting bigger, and we are definitely a city to reckon with. While we're small, we're definitely mighty.
So true. I mean, and we have all of the major issues out here, right? We've got transportation. The I-10 runs right on through. That was a huge deal not too many years ago. We've got, I think the 101, the 202, the 303, I think all of them impact us. If I'm not mistaken, we've got water issues. We've got, even border issues. Like we have all of it. So you better be ready for a big job, right?
But the two
That's right.
big industries that people need to be aware of that's in Avondale is we have the raceway and we have pot of gold auctions.
Now, how could you not mention Pot of Gold auction? It goes right up there with Phoenix Raceway.
Seriously. I mean, absolutely. Oh my gosh, that was great. Well, so politics, even in small cities and towns, can be a rough arena. I mean, we like to think that we all get along because we're all neighbors. And out here, we've got like a multi-city coalition with our chamber and all of that. And so we are very friendly. But when everybody is fighting for the same prize, it can be a little on the rough side. And serving as an elected official is a team sport that involves your entire family. What are some of the issues that caused you to say it's worth it? It's worth the time, the work, and I want to be mayor.
Well, that's a great question, and I'd love to elaborate quickly on what you mentioned first in regards to it being the entire family. My family, I'm married, my wife Olivia, and we have four kids, 2 girls, 2 boys. The girls are out of the house and they've moved to different locations. But I do have my 2 boys here, and let me tell you that I'm very fortunate that they're older now, which does not require a lot of time at home. They're not playing sports. I'm not coaching anymore. So that has definitely freed up my schedule to be able to do this. Because as a matter of fact, there's a lot of time that most folks don't see. I mean, they see us at events, they see us at different organizational, conferences and things of that nature. But there's a lot more work that goes on behind the scenes that requires my time, also requires my education. So while we're out getting educated and attending meetings, somebody still has to be here to take care of the normal day-to-day opportunities and not opportunities, but day-to-day things that happen around the home. And my wife has stepped up. I for a while had taken a step back. She was very involved in a lot of organizations, and so we're a team. She helps me, I help her, and our boys kick in when they need to. So it's been great. But you're right, the whole entire family is really invested in all of this as well. But yes, so what are the three things that or the driving forces for my run? And they really stem from the pillars that I have set for myself, which are community, education, and small business. I am community focused, community minded. As I alluded to a second ago, I've coached sports out here in the West Valley from 2006 to about 3 years ago when my son entered high school. And so for me, programming is key. So when we talk about community, we're talking about access to programming for physical fitness, lifestyle, for lifelong learning opportunities outside of just education, but learning how to write, learning how to create poetry, play a guitar, again, play sports. So community, in terms of a pillar and a driving force, is making sure that our residents have access to those things that they have become used to. But more importantly, the creative and innovative things that don't exist yet that we can bring to fruition here in the city. I know pickleball is one. That wasn't a big thing a couple of years ago, and now every park and every community wants a pickleball court. So, that's something that we have to respond to and listen to. And if the residents are looking forward and we have the budget to do it, why not make that a goal that we can achieve? In terms of education, I am an educator. I teach. I'm a professor at Estrella Mountain Community College. I teach business courses. I'm also the program director for the business department. So education is paramount to myself. I started my career as an 8th grade social studies teacher. And the way I see it is that while maybe a degree, or what most folks think of as typical education, being in a classroom, getting a certificate, getting a degree, may not be for everyone, then we must offer opportunities for those folks that want to get into trades, or maybe they want to specifically train for some sort of career path through Westmec, and other opportunities that exist here. So education is vital, and the earlier that we can tap into that resource, the better. One of the things that I'm trying to work on right now is, while there is dual enrollment in high school opportunities where high school students are getting college credit, I would love to even go down to the 7th and 8th grade levels, middle schools, specifically for entrepreneurship education. And so that's something that I'm working on behind the scenes, and hopefully will come to fruition during my term. And I really look forward to that. And then finally, small business. Being that you and I and Dan are, or at least I have been at least a former business owner, and working with business owners, I see how vital small business is for the city. One of the things that I like to share with individuals is that we have neighboring cities that have been very successful in drawing in businesses that our residents will benefit from in the future. And while we could easily complain that we did not get those specific businesses to Avondale, we can highlight the small businesses that we have here. In other words, make Avondale a destination point, because if you want pot of gold auction, you can't go anywhere else but Avondale to get that. If you want a New Penny Cafe or Leo's Tacos, you can't go anywhere else but Avondale to get those. So let's take advantage of that, and let's make Avondale the destination that it has become for our small businesses. Give them access, give them support, allow them to work and grow with each other, so that not only do they start here, but they grow here and sustain here in the city of Avondale. And I believe that with me as mayor, with a background in small business and understanding the way small business operates and the challenges that they face, allows me to better address those here in Avondale. Because if you really look at the landscape, we don't really have many corporate chains, but a lot more small businesses. So it's going to take somebody who understands that to be able to work with staff as well as administration of the city to make sure that we are supporting them to the best of our ability.
You mentioned small attracting small businesses, and I agree with that because, you know, small businesses are affected by decisions from the mayor and city council. And the way some of the cities do it is all they think about is the big guy. And the big guy can afford to do the things that needs to be done to get your business going where the small guy can't. And so having that vision, I have always appreciated Avondale for the 20 years that we've been here for that direction that Avondale goes, where, you know, they're working with the small businesses. And I know you personally have that same insight.
It matters.
And I
Everything.
appreciate that. And I recommend anybody that wants to start a business, whether big or small, to at least come talk to the people in Avondale.
Mhm.
And so that's why I'm for you, Mike. I know that you have the same mindset. You know, you're an educator, you're a have been a business owner. You know what it takes to operate a business in Avondale, and
Yeah.
that's important.
Yeah, that's correct. And you know, one of the things that that large corporations have at their disposal is obviously support. They have support through corporate headquarters. They might have support through consultants, very high paid and powerful consultants. And small business owners often learn on the job, right? They leverage their skill set to a certain degree, but that may only get you so far. I mean, you might be a great mechanic, but that might not translate into becoming a great accountant nor a marketing specialist. So learning on the fly sometimes is key and vital to the success of a small business. So with my background and understanding that, making sure that those business owners who come in and are looking to capitalize on their skill sets and experience also get the support so they can become a more well-rounded business owner. And maybe not overnight, but at least in time. And again, being able to provide that education and opportunity is going to be vital to their success. After all, you know, I always look at business as a boat. If you look at small business, they're a speedboat. Big business is a yacht. Small boats have to turn and can turn very quickly. You know, you saw it with COVID, becoming very creative, very innovative, and be able to deal with a situation that most of us or any of us have never seen before.
Absolutely.
Large business and corporation takes such a long time to adapt to what's happening, you know, out in the world. And so being able to give that support, as I mentioned earlier, is going to be key. And I, for one, as mayor, would make sure that we keep that as a priority.
Well, and something else that I think is important is that, you know, small businesses like ours, and we've always been shoestring. Everything that we've ever opened since we got married, we've been in business and married for 39 years.
That
It's
long?
I
Oh.
know, it feels like longer, right?
Congrats.
But
I thought I was only 39.
but it's yeah, as old as you feel. Anyway, yeah, it's always been a shoestring, and it's always been that whole, as you said, like on the job training, learning as we go. And the fewer obstacles that are in our way, the less red tape, the less regulations, it all of it matters. And so as we have built these businesses in Avondale, we are very close to the community. So we love supporting our law enforcement and our firefighters and, you know, other, you know, we do, toy drives at Christmas and that sort of thing. And I think that that is something that big corporations, they can do, but always has a different feel. It's always like, well, they needed a tax write-off, so they're gonna, you know what I mean? Or they're doing it for marketing or something. And so I think that you're so smart to be courting people like us. Dave Ramsey calls small business the backbone of America, and I don't think he's wrong in that. So to have a place that other small business owners that are listening are like, yes, I want to be around my people. You know, I want to be around other people that understand me. And then I've even served as the chair of our local chamber of commerce because I just stayed so connected to my neighbors and the other people that were sort of in this same boat, this same little speedboat, that we're in. And so I think you're very smart to be embracing.
This show's not about us,
Oh, that's true.
but I would like to just say that.
It's all about me, I thought. What's happening here?
I have to
I
say
like
that
it.
the show's not about us, but I want to make a comment that when I came into the city to do this business, I had a different mindset. It was all about money. It seemed like that's what it was. How do we make money? But as we've grown with the city and communicated with leaders and other people that work for the city, it became a community. And now when we do something for this group, it's not a tax write-off. It's we give it fully out of our heart. And we just did a major donation for a law enforcement officer, Avondale, and it was one of my personal items. It's not going to be written off, and that's okay, because we're doing it because the community needs it, right?
Yeah.
The community helps
mayor
us.
that understands
Right.
that is everything.
And so I just want to clear that up. That we are not even small business, which we could take advantage of write-offs. It's not the same when you do that.
Yeah, I
When
agree.
we actually just give it to them, it's different. But we do this because of how the city has helped us
Yeah.
and made us a community, instead of you guys are over there and you pay your this, you do this. It's different. So I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Well, there's definitely an intimacy there, right? I
Yes.
mean, and the reason why I'm a capitalist. I believe if you're going to put a ton of risk into something, that you should be able to benefit and reap the rewards of it. But yet I think what happens over time, especially in a community like ours, is that you can't help but get ingrained and intimate with other business owners and other members of the community, and staff and the city as a whole. And once something tragic happens, and we don't want to utilize just tragedies here, we look at successes and wins as well, but in a term, to your example, a tragedy allows for those intimacies to take root and to take place, and then it just the information spreads, and all of those who have been helped along the way just turn and help each other. And it is that support, I think, that just goes so far and so wide with small businesses and a community of our size.
Beautiful. Beautifully said. So getting back to sort of the politics of the job, right? You have to seek votes, you have to campaign, you have to do all those things. But this particular race for mayor of the city of Avondale is nonpartisan. And we find ourselves at a time in history when that's almost impossible. I don't even know how, with as ideologically driven as really both major parties can get, those ideologies are very deeply ingrained in the decisions that not only the voters make, but also elected officials make. How do you navigate this? Because give us a little bit of your history. You've been on city council for quite a while. You're vice mayor now. How do you navigate?
Great question. Well, first is not looking at everything through a political lens. Keep in mind that as a elected official for a municipality, I'm still just a resident, right? But I'm a resident that has a voice. I have a vote. And for that reason, it allows me to really take into consideration the impact that our policy has on residents, because everything we do at the dais down at City Hall affects me and my family here, whether that be taxes, whether that be specific policy, whether that be what we allow to happen or not happen in our city, affects us directly. So making sure that I don't look at things through a political lens has been very helpful to me. I've been able to navigate local politics for quite a long time, because even prior to council, I served on our school board here for Littleton Elementary School District. So as a member, as a vice president and president of that board, it was the same thing. And if you know anything about our current environment, even education has become very politicized, for many different reasons. So really looking at the task at hand and understanding how the impact is going to be felt by my family, by my friends, by people in the community and the residents, I have to stop. And that is where communication is key. So in other words, instead of looking at everything through a myopic approach, I tend to get out there and to talk to folks, especially if I know in a specific area that certain things will affect them more than others. I'll give you one quick example. When I first got on council, there was a street in Avondale that has been there forever. I mean, since it was incorporated, it's one street of one home of one row of homes. And there was an empty lot behind it. At least I've been here since 1983. So since 1983, and probably since God developed the earth, it's just been vacant.
Yeah.
Well, an industrial complex wanted to come in, and they were going to have chemicals and other things. So I walked the street, talked to the residents, and said, "Hey, before this comes to council, here's what is proposed. What are your thoughts?" And I had great feedback. Some said, "You know what, that's okay," and some said, "Absolutely not." So that allowed me then to make a decision, not for myself, but for those who are going to be impacted. And so the same thing when it comes to partisan politics, I would be naive to say that they don't play a role in decision making. I know that at the heart, each one of us as individuals set aside our own politics, but there are some times where maybe certain policy comes before us that we may not align with personally, but it's still wise to listen to the other side, to listen to the other side of point of view. So that has allowed me again to kind of navigate this world where things can become very sticky, very political. You make one bad decision and that'll stick with that voter forever. They'll never let you forget about it. And so that's why it's very, you have to be very careful that when you're making votes or when you're making policy, when you are entertaining ideas and thoughts, that you do so for the whole and for the betterment of our residents, not necessarily ourselves. But if I see, for example, that something is coming into play or something's coming before us that I know will impact a large group of folks, I'm going to talk to those group of folks and say, "Here's what's coming down the pike. You share with me your thoughts." And while I might come in with my own opinion, my own viewpoint, I may leave there with a different one based upon what the residents and what the folks at the meeting have said. And so, again, I think if you can just be as neutral like a judge, take all the evidence in and just roll with the facts, then I think you will be on the best footing. And so far, I've been able to navigate that as a council. I can't speak for everyone, but I can't think of many times, at least in the past, where politics have come into play based upon political affiliation. But when they do, I will make sure to bring that to the attention of the residents and say, "Hey, this is what's happening, and I'm not sure that this is what would be best." And listen to what the folks have to say. And if they don't agree, then I take that and I interpret that. And I may still not even vote the way that the majority would like me to, based upon maybe facts that I have that are not readily available to the public. So it's really just navigating without a political lens and really taking in as much information as possible while looking at what the benefit will be to the majority of the people. So that's really kind of how I've navigated it so far. I will continue to do that. The fact that Avondale is nonpartisan, I think, has made Avondale better. At least in my past experience.
Yeah, I definitely would agree with that. And it's interesting how certain topics or certain issues are where you can really see the divide. Being out here in the West Valley, we have Goodyear, Tolleson, Buckeye, Avondale, Litchfield Park. And it was during the COVID madness that I started being able to see, I never even thought about if Joe Smith or Jane Doe, what their party affiliation was, but there was something about COVID that very clearly defined how people reacted. And so that was one of those moments in history that I was like, I'm kind of sad that I know now, because everybody has done such a good job overall of just really, as you're saying, just serving the community and working, taking these small cities and making a very large footprint and working collaboratively together. And I was sad that politics reared its ugly head, and now I know things about some of my friends that I didn't know before. But
And so, Mike, just to make it clear, I mean, I know the answer to this, but you're very supportive to law enforcement and fire,
Mhm.
That's
and
correct.
you're not a defund guy. You're very supportive of those groups, right?
Mhm.
That's right. Very supportive of public safety, fire, medical, police. If you look, matter of fact, this does sound, it's going to come across as very political, but if you were to go back and look at any meeting where anything has come before us in regards to support of fire, of police, I've always voted in the affirmative. I believe our public safety needs the best equipment,
Mhm.
the most up-to-date equipment possible so that they can do their job. And in turn, if they do their job, then that means our residents are safe. And so whatever it takes, to a certain degree, I will support, and I have supported. And I say certain degree because obviously we have a budget to work with, but anything within those bounds has been well documented of my support to public safety. There's no bigger supporter of myself. And actually, I don't want to toot my horn, but I will toot my wife's horn because she makes excellent tamales. And so every Christmas night, since I got on council, since 2016, I've opened up my house. My wife and I help her make tamales, rice, and beans fresh.
Yum.
And we invite all members of public safety to come for dinner. So starting at around 6 o'clock in the evening, they just kind of rotate in. We typically have anywhere from 20 to 40 members of public safety. They come, they have a hot meal. And the reason we did that is because on the night of Christmas, there's very little things open. They always share with me, unless it's sugar related, they can't find it. So a fresh cooked meal, we just do that again, just to kind of give back to them and give them a place where they can come to get a hot meal and share each other's time. I don't talk business. We don't talk politics. We don't talk city business. It's you hang out with each other. Let's talk about the Cardinals. Let's talk about what's going on that evening, other than politics and city business. But again, just for something small like that, to actually putting our dollars where my mouth is and my votes are, 100% I support. As a matter of fact, I just had a conversation with Chief Espinoza, Memo Espinoza of the police department,
We know him.
and just reiterated, my support. And he said, you do not even have to do that. We know 100% that you support us. And thank you so much for what you've done as a council member and as vice mayor. And I really appreciated that.
Well,
Oh,
we
I
have
love
the
that.
best, I really mean that we have the best law enforcement and fire that of any city I've ever been in. So I really appreciate that. I I want to see them be supported
Yeah,
because they're good
absolutely.
people.
Again, everything is very close to the ground here. Like
Right.
we all are very interconnected. And I started to chuckle when you mentioned tamale because I was remembering last year at the state level there was a Save the Tamales bill,
Yes,
right?
there was.
And it was really about people that it's part of their livelihood is making
Correct.
tamales to support their families, and it's kind of like the food truck thing, right?
Right.
And it was a
You got veto, didn't it?
statewide, very dramatic thing because it was bipartisan. Both sides were about supporting the tamale makers, and then ultimately the governor vetoed it, and it was like this whole save the tamale. So anyway, sorry, my brain went off in a different direction.
Who doesn't
No,
like
yeah, no,
tamales?
you're right. I remember that.
That was nuts. So I just want to touch back again on your personal experience and how important that is to understanding the intricacies of, infrastructure and like you said, what should we put a chemical manufacturer or whatnot behind some residential homes. Your professional experience, not only as a college professor and a
Right.
business program director, as well as your wife and I having owned it's REO, but it's a foreclosure,
Right.
properties that are being foreclosed on, a real estate firm that dealt in those. It gives you a unique perspective on how to grow and develop a city. So talk to us about, how that maybe distinguishes you and prepares you to take on the role of mayor?
Dollars and cents, really what it comes down to. Investment. What is the impact of that investment? Who is it going to impact? How many is it going to impact? And as a city, as a municipality, making sure that we're set up in a way, by being fiscally conservative to the extent that we can provide those amenities that our residents come to expect. So I'll give you a quick story if you don't mind. So I wore it as a badge of pride that I would not speak to developers or members of the development community outside of City Hall, out of chamber. And the reason why I considered it a point of pride is I wanted the public, I wanted our residents to know that I was not having any communications with these folks behind the doors, so to speak. And so anything that they wanted to share with me, any information, I would do it through the dais.
Nice.
So fast forward from then, 2016 to now. And an interesting thing happened because of what you've just mentioned, Cheryl, in regards to my experience of being a business owner, understanding the way business works. And again, going back to my comment of dollars and cents, is that even when a development project comes to the city and all 7 of us vote in favor of it, that project still could have been better for the residents had the conversation and the communication started earlier. So I had a shift, a kind of an aha moment when talking to one specific developer, actually an attorney for a developer, and she was discussing the pro forma with me. And then it clicked, wait a minute, these folks that are coming into our city to develop are putting a lot of time and money into that project. And I'm waiting literally until the end to make my decision. So I left an entire gap, sometimes years, of opportunity to make it better for the resident, to make it more appropriate, maybe to get something out of it and leverage the city's resources against the project. For example, maybe had I got in early enough, the developer would have covered the cost of building the street instead of the city. Like things of that you don't think about at the time. So when she and I had the conversation and she kind of brought that to my attention, I immediately transported and took off my city hat and put on my small business hat and said, well, what if I was a developer and I was going through the process and I couldn't get a policymaker to get in on the conversation until the very end and then they voted no? That could be hundreds, thousands, even millions of dollars wasted. So if I'm pro-business and pro-growth, which I am, that could be devastating. And that would have, quite honestly, the opposite effect of what I would be trying to have with members of that community. So for that reason, moving forward, I've had an open door policy. Now, I typically will speak to the developers with a member of staff there who can help to answer questions, kind of fill in gaps. So I do it with full transparency, but now it allows me to get ahead of the game to make sure that whatever is coming, whether it's a grocery store, a small business, a housing tract, or a large master plan community, that I get in the communication or in the line of communication from the very beginning. And as mayor, that is going to be one of my sole focus in regards to the 3 tenets that I have, one being small business, is also working with the development community because they bring a ton to the table. Our residents scream for things. They scream for grocery stores. They scream for amenities. And yet it's the development of the community who's going to bring it. It's not going to be us. We're not going to develop property. We're not going to develop a grocery store to build a grocery store. And so we have to work with those partners. So I want to make sure that moving forward that I get in on it early so that we can alleviate any sort of issue. And it could be that it's not the right project, but let's figure out a way to either make it work or get it off the plate as early as possible so that they're not losing out when it comes to time and money, and that our residents aren't holding hope that that something's coming to fruition that won't. So, it was difficult to go through that transition until I thought about that way, until I thought about it as a small business owner and somebody who understands dollars and cents and investment, capital projects, understanding how much money costs nowadays. So I really have taken on that different approach, and it actually has provided more opportunity. There's a couple of projects coming down the pike that I can't get into specifically. But as a result of looking back at past decisions and policy, understanding how they would hinder development that our residents are looking for, we can now bring that back to the table and work through it so that it's a win-win. Our residents win and the development community wins. And I think that is going to be something that the next mayor, considering Avondale where we are right now in terms of growth, is going to have to play a vital role. And I look to fulfill that.
That's excellent. When we were talking off air, we were sort of talking about, the chicken and the egg thing, right?
Right.
How do you entice business if you don't have rooftops, I think is the phrase you used.
Correct.
And vice versa, right? That why does somebody need to live out here unless there's some industry to work? So it really is a very delicate balancing act. And I think somebody with your background has an understanding. And I think particularly when I look at, you were dealing with businesses that didn't make it.
Correct.
And understanding, some of those reasons why is so important. Because I think we learn more from the times we skinned our knee than, the times that we, didn't. So to learn
And
from
there's
other
always the
people's
scars to remind you.
exactly, learning from other people's skinned knees, I think is very, very important. And I want to touch back. We mentioned just briefly, joking that, Pot of Gold is at the same level as the racetrack out here. What is the racetrack? Because people listening all across the nation maybe don't even understand what the racetrack is.
Sure. So the racetrack used to be called back in the day Phoenix International Raceway, or PIR. As a matter of fact, I still call it that sometimes.
Did too.
It went through a couple of iterations over the last couple of years and has settled on Phoenix Raceway. So that's what it is called. Phoenix Raceway is our entertainment jewel here in our part of the town that offers NASCAR races and other type of races and events. They've actually put in, I think it was 1.5 or $2 billion into the renovation of that racetrack to make it more or at least to provide more opportunity to use it other than just a racetrack. But Avondale has won the NASCAR championship race over the last 3 years. About 2 weeks ago, we just announced that we got 2025, so it'll be here again next year.
Nice.
And that brings with it a tremendous amount of revenue. It's a small city. I believe it's somewhere upwards of 80,000 people who come over a weekend, a couple of times a year to watch these races. Fry's and Safeway, they set up a little grocery store out there. It really is a small city. I mean, even our infrastructure has to be taken into account when we look at those races. And while it's great, it does take a lot of infrastructure to make these come to fruition, and a lot of partnerships and agreements with outside organizations. But who benefits from the racetrack is the small business community, because those folks leave the area, they go to eat somewhere. It's going to be a small business, it's going to be a restaurant. They go to the grocery store or the convenience store. They go maybe to different other venues that exist out there, and they buy things, and so the money kind of just circulates. So the raceway is our again jewel of the desert, so to speak, and every year, twice a year, provides us a significant amount of revenues to the city of Avondale. The one, if I could share this, I'm sure not everybody would like to hear me say this, but one of the things I wish would happen more is that when you hear of other events in the city, like the Super Bowl happens in Glendale, Waste Management Open happens in Scottsdale. But when they talk about the NASCAR championship race, it takes place in Phoenix. Well, we both know that's not technically correct. Happens in Avondale. So somehow, some way, we got to get the momentum going to change that. But yes, that is what the raceway is, or the racetrack is. Sorry.
It's
Yeah, I was going
kind
to
of a big deal.
I was questioning that it's in Avondale, but it's Phoenix. Right. I guess you can see Phoenix from the bleachers, but I will make a comment too. It does affect, because I've had several of the drivers come into our shop,
Oh.
and now the drivers announce who they are, or know
Sure.
who they are, But what about the pit crew and the people that come from other states to visit the track? They come in too, and they may not even say anything. So it's a great revenue generating place, and it does put us on the map. But
I'm glad to hear that.
You know, I do question why it's not Avondale Raceway.
Well, we need to work on that maybe. We are running very close on time, but
Okay.
I do have two really important questions I want to be
Sure.
sure we touch on.
Okay.
First of all, who has endorsed you and why? And then once you answer that, I'll get to my last question and we'll start wrapping up.
Sure. So I have been very fortunate that our current mayor, Mayor Ken Weiss, has come out and endorsed me. I was very excited about that, but I will share that behind the scenes, that early on, that him and I had a conversation, and he asked if I was thinking about running, and quite honestly, at the time, I was not. I really was thinking about going back to school to get my doctoral degree for myself, and then realized that, you know, as some of the things that I mentioned earlier in regards to what's going on with Avondale, how it's growing, and it's going to take somebody with a business mindset to take on the helm from all the excellent things that Mayor Weiss has done through his term, that I realized, okay, yes, I'm that guy, and I'm going to step into those shoes and take on what how far you've brought us, and take it on and take us to even new heights, further heights up from that. So he came out and endorsed me, and I was very, again, appreciative to that. Shortly thereafter, I was also endorsed by a second mayor, and that is Mayor Juan Rodriguez of the city of Tolleson. Him and I share many of the same viewpoints. We're both local in terms of growing up in our cities, participating through many different opportunities within the city to give back and to participate. And so he said, you know, looking from afar, if I'm going to work with somebody other than Mayor Weiss, I would love to work with nobody else rather than you. And so for that reason, I'd love to endorse you. Interestingly enough, another sister city mayor, Mayor Joe Pizzillo of Goodyear, has also endorsed me. And what's interesting about Mayor Pizzillo is that he is actually an adjunct at Estrella Mountain Community College, which means that he works underneath my tutelage. So when he introduces folks, he says, "Hi, this is Mike Pineda, Vice Mayor Mike Pineda from Avondale. He's also my boss. I'm not his boss." But it's always funny to hear him say that. But him and I have, again, in terms of business, I mean, we both teach business courses. He teaches accounting for us and truly understands, you know, being fiscally conservative.
Yes.
Also being mindful of development. And so we share that. And having a nice sit-down conversation with him, he asked and actually shared with me, you know, hey, I really love what you've done so far. You know, I know that you're running for mayor, and I would love to come out and support. And I said, well, then that would require your endorsement. And he said, no problem. I fully endorse you and would be happy to endorse you to move on to the mayorship, considering that we would be working together, you know, over the next 4 years of your term. So it was great to have those three. In addition, Councilwoman Wally Campbell from the city of Goodyear also endorsed me, has come out and endorsed me. I was very excited for that, considering her legacy in the community, everything that she has done. You know, her and I go about at least 6 or 7 years back. Her and my wife go back even further. They used to work on some things together. And so, you know, if you know Wally, she is definitely a proponent of small business in the West Valley, for sure. So to have her on my side is key. I've also been endorsed by Mark Gonzalez, who is the president of the Avondale Elementary School District. Mark and I go back, actually way back. He was actually my soccer coach when I was like in the 4th and 5th grade for a little bit. And then obviously I went my way, he went his. And then we reconnected at a conference, being that he was on the school board and I was on the school board. So it was kind of nice to reconnect with him. But him and I share the same vision of educating our youth, but more importantly, not just educating them, but getting them educated early. I've shared with him my idea of getting middle schoolers college credit early, and he is all aboard with that, totally gets it, understands it, and again has come out and endorsed me. Another council member from the city of Tolleson, Adolfo Gomez, he has come out and endorsed me because, again, of what I've done for my city. A local favorite, I'm not sure if you know Sam Garcia of the Garcia family, who owned Garcia's Market. He has come out and endorsed me. He currently runs his late father, Sam Garcia's golf tournament, and has also done a number of other things in the community in which I have helped. And so just because of what I've done, he sees my work, and for no credit, right? Just behind the scenes work, he knows what I've done, has come out in full force. To that end, Judge Pep Guzman, another
Yes.
big name in the
Big
community,
name.
has also come out and endorsed me for that reason, because of what I do for him and the West Side Impact organization that he runs. I just get involved in a lot of different community events, and not for the recognition. As a matter of fact, I help out before people get there, and then I help clean up after people leave. But it's really just about helping them, because I know in turn they would definitely help me. So those are a number of folks, and I'm working right now on getting an endorsement by WeServe, which is the real estate group, used to be Weimar. Went through an interview with them, and so waiting to hear back from them. But just some heavy hitters, I feel, that transgress not only the small business community, but the community in general and the education community. So just tying all of them together through that type of support, tapping into their networks, and just making sure that I do what's right and what's right by Avondale and the residents.
I'm really pleased to hear about all these great leaders that have endorsed you. They're all good people, and
Yes.
they all know what it takes to keep a community live. So that's great.
That's
Yes.
fantastic. And congratulations
Yeah.
on those. Last question is, and this one is more for maybe the audience beyond just the city of Avondale, but for sure the voters here.
Okay.
Because we are trying to, talk to people all across the nation and even the world, and inspire them, that you're a dad, you're a husband, you're a college professor, and yet you are using your experience to serve your community in these ways, because we do need to bring up people. We need to encourage more people to step out into these arenas and into these roles. But this particular question, I don't know how much a mayor has to do with this, but why people that value individual liberties, right? Why should they vote for Mike Pineda?
That's a great question, and I'll give you an example why. We've had a significant issue with speeding in our city, as well as racing. And we as a city have tried to figure out, how do we battle this? Because we have traffic units. We also only have so much capacity. And what happens often is our traffic units will go out, they'll respond to a call for speeding or for racing, and by the time they get there, it's done. So they might be in one part of the city because of a phone call, and then the speeding or the racing will take place in a total opposite side of the city. So now units have to respond to that side of town. So now you have kind of this whack-a-mole issue that has occurred. So where am I going with this? So one of the ideas that our chief of police brought to our attention was a mobile speed camera. And the speed camera would essentially be a cue, so to speak, a visual cue, as well as a behavioral cue to slow down. Well, if we're talking about individual liberties here, then we might be talking about infringing on them, because we're taking a picture of your license plate, right? We got your data, and now you're going to get a ticket for speeding. That's a tough place for me, because on the one hand, as a driver myself, going to some cities where you know that it's a revenue generator as opposed to anything else that's related to safety, I want to make sure that I communicate to the residents that this is a trial period to those speed cameras. We want to get data back. We need to know what the data says. And they're mobile, they're not firmly planted or affixed to the ground on purpose, so that they can be moved again as those cues. But the argument has been made, and I have a really good friend, by the way, who texted me literally 3 days ago and said, "What's with the speed cameras? That's infringing on my rights, right?"
Yeah.
And I had to be honest with him. I said, "I get it. I understand why you say that and why you feel that way. But as a leader in the city, I have to, as we mentioned earlier in this interview, look at all sides and all points of view. So on the one hand, if I knew that we were doing revenue generating activities, I couldn't stand behind it.
Mm-hmm.
The cost of the tickets, by the way, there was about a month and a half period where it was just all educational. The individual would get a letter that just said, hey, slow down, here's the posted speed, et cetera, et cetera. But the cost, and we are very transparent on this, the cost that a ticket would generate go to the cost of the mobile unit. So there's no revenue generation of this. It's essentially just paying for the asset. But regardless, it's still, you know, it could be a heated topic, and I see both sides of the coin. But then I have the resident who would come to me and say, my daughter just passed away because she was hit by a speeder. What are you doing to stop speeding?
That's a tough
That's
one.
another difficult conversation to have. And if I say, well, ma'am, we have a traffic unit. Yeah, but the traffic unit can only be at one place at one time. Maybe the speed camera would have slowed that driver down, and maybe that tragic death maybe would not have happened. So I have to look at that side point of view as well. So why would somebody vote for me? One is because I listen. I listen to the feedback. I truly understand in regards to individual liberties. I would never want to infringe upon them. I wouldn't want my individual liberties infringed upon myself, which is why when certain things happen with other cities, it may not be the best for Avondale. And I would be a proponent, or I would definitely, communicate my dissatisfaction with something that would come into our town that existed somewhere else for many different reasons. So with this case, I only provide that example because I want to highlight that it's a true example. It's a true case study at this point. We'll look to see what the data says. I don't want to infringe on anybody's liberties. I also want to make sure that we don't have speeding in our city. And so I hope that that honest answer and expression would allow for somebody who says, while I may not agree with the speed cameras, I understand why he's going through the process or why he's even looking at the data to begin with. And so for that, just being honest and open, that I'm a resident, I'm affected by these decisions too, that would be even more of a reason why somebody would want to vote for me that takes that seriously.
Very good. Very good. Appreciate the answer and the
Mike,
honesty.
I know you, and I know that you want to listen to what people have to say, and that you take that information and you value it. So that's
Yes.
the most important thing. Me, if you ask me about the speed cameras, I'm okay with the speed cameras as long as they have a warning that's clearly visible ahead of time. That shows me this is not revenue generating. This is to slow you down. We have a problem. But if you
Then it
just
has
turn
an
the
or
corner and
else
you
at
got
the
a
end.
you turn the corner and you got a speeding ticket, that sounds like a revenue generating. But that's another story. I love you. I think you're going to be great, and we'll support you in any way that we can. And thank you for being on the show today.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Dan. And just really quickly, I'll share just how much this is not a revenue generator. If you were to go on the Avondale's the Avondale police website, or not, I'm sorry, social media right now, they just posted this morning the address and location of where the cameras are going next. So they're telling the community where the cameras will be every time they're moved, so that you're at least aware. Now, if you speed and you forget, that's one thing, but it's not a secret. There are warning signs. Actually, there's 3 instead of the 2 that are required, and they're being posted on social media where they're going to be. So again, it's more about curbing people's behavior in regards to speeding as it is any sort of revenue generation.
Right.
Gotcha. Awesome. Well, as we go out, please tell folks how they can support your campaign, because everybody knows campaigns run on people power and money power.
That's right. So you can go to, anyone listening, you can go to Mike Pineda for mayor, and for is FOR. So Mike, PINEDA, FOR, mayor.com. That is my website. On the website, you can get involved. You can call me. I will deliver a sign to you, a yard sign. We have different events. I'll give you dates and times of the events. And yes, as you mentioned, Cheryl, campaigns cost money. So there is a way to donate. There's contributions from $20 on up. And every dollar helps. helps me to spread the word, get the message out, and fulfill my obligation and my duty to making sure that the next mayor of Avondale is really there for not only the small business, the community, the residents, and everyone who invests or wants to invest as a whole. So thank you for all of your time, Mike Pineda from mayor.com, and learn all about me. You can actually send a message through there as well if you'd like to connect.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Best of luck with your campaign, and we will definitely be checking back in with you.
Thank you so much, Cheryl Down, and thank you to all of you listening and watching. Have a great day.
Thank you.
You too.
Bye-bye.
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 Mike Pineda. Turns out he and I both went to Estrella Mountain Community College together at the same time.
But then you also,
many years ago.
But he also many years ago, he went to the school right here.
Oh, yes. We both graduated from the same high school. There were a few
Different years difference.
few years difference. I think I predated him by a bit.
Yeah.
But yes.
All free high school.
Our free high school.
Yes.
All right. We have got to get on out of here. I just am going to very quickly talk about our supporters. We've got lockedingrip.com. This is a liquid shooting sports chalk. It gives you a no slip, better traction, heightened connection for safer, faster shooting. It is made for shooters by shooters. It's been created by Brian and Shelly Hill, and great product. Go to lockedingrip.com. Get some for you and your favorite range buddy. And we love Made in America. And so we try to support anything we can that supports American jobs on American soil, making American-made products. And this is your invitation to do the same. This is a private invitation-only shopping club. Go to patriothousehold.com/GFR for Gun Freedom Radio. You can buy your shampoo, your laundry soap, your delicious snacks, even steaks and ground beef. It's amazing products that they have. You can shop as you need it or set your order and forget it, which is what I like to do. Shows up on your front porch. Could not be more convenient than that. A little bit of every dollar you spend supports what we do and supports the work of the Second Amendment Foundation. patriothousehold.com/GFR for Gun Freedom Radio. We are going to, oh, wait, I forgot to tell
How
you.
you find us?
If you're going to rewatch this video or any of our videos, go to YouTube, GunStreamer, or the OpsLens smartphone app. Please be sure you click the notification and the subscribe button. That lets those platforms know that you value these conversations. If you want to listen to the audio-only version, go to our website, GunFreedomRadio.com. Click the On-Demand tab, and
Binge lesson to hot content darling.
if you want to see the links to all of the works that all of our guests and subject matter experts have, including Mike Pineda's website, click the Guest tab. When you spend time there, we don't hate that. Thank you so much to all of our amazing listeners and viewers. I hope this show has inspired somebody out there to maybe run for office, whether it's mayor, whether it's city council, whether it's school board, whether it's president. You never know, right? Every president that's ever been our president wasn't until they made a decision in their life to change their life and run for the office. All right. Is that it?
No, we need to pray for our nation.
Okay. Until next time, we're going to pray for our nation.
Pray for our leaders,
All of them, Dan?
even the ones we don't like.
Maybe especially the ones we don't like.
And that's it.
And that's it. All right. Until next time, be good to each other. Have a great week, and God bless.
Bye-bye.